Okay, tell me again, how tall are you? 6'4"?
6'4". Yeah.
Everybody over 6 feet to me is like this.
I think I'm 6'5", but we'll go with 6'4".
Okay. So how
Yeah.
about 6'4.5"? So when
Six
I
four.
registered for my driver's license, I put 5'3.5", and so they put 5'4" on there. I'm actually like definitely 5'3", maybe even shorter than that. So every time somebody looks at it, they're like, "Oh, you're 5'4", and I'm like, sure. Um, but okay, so I always have this debate. My friend Sarah, she says that you should never, like, plain etiquette is that you should never put your seat back. Do you agree
What?
or disagree? Like when you're on a plane, do you
No,
think,
if it can go back, you should go back.
okay, you don't think so? Like if you're sitting there and someone puts their seat back, do you get frustrated?
Yes.
But it's their right, right?
Yeah, but it's their right.
That's how I feel. I'm
Yeah.
like, we're all paying to be here.
Yeah. And
It's
then the first thing I do is like, now I need equidistance. So then I have to go back. And then it's just like a ripple effect. So everyone
it's
else in the plane go back.
like dominoes.
Um, what's that got to do with tall people? Because it's harder for tall people.
Well, because I was just wondering, yeah, I feel like, I mean, she's taller than me for sure. Well, everybody is, but she's like she's probably 5'7" or she's probably like 5'8", maybe. And so anyway, I was just wondering, because you have a very different experience on planes than I do,
I I find
for
it really
multiple reasons, because you're bougie and you don't like to fly.
yeah. I mean, there's that. But I find it really hard to gauge how tall people are that are shorter than me. Because short is just short. So
Same
like
for me, tall is tall.
tall is tall. So fun story. One time, the like with a week after we got married, Kaisa went to the hospital, like the emergency room, nothing major, just to like get checked out for something. And
Mhm.
she had to go back and do all the tests. And have you heard this story?
No,
Oh, and the doctor was like, "Hey, fill out her like medical form while we go do the tests."
oh no, you're
We've
useless.
been married for like a week. And also I'm learning like the American like systems of measurements and stuff. And so at first I forgot her maiden name. That was good.
No, that's bad. There's
And
no
I,
excuse for
then
that.
I forgot her mum's name and phone number. And then it got worse. Then it was like, how much does she weigh? And I'm like, all I know is kgs. And so I put down, I'm like, well, I'm 190, so she's got to be like 160. So I put down 160. And then she's probably your height, Holly, but I put down like, I mean, I'm 6'5". She's got to be like 5'10", 5'11". So
Oh my gosh. Okay,
I
so for those
put
of you
down
who don't,
5'11",
yeah.
160 pounds. And the guy like comes back and he's like, are
No.
you sure? And I'm like, I don't know. She walks in, he goes, you're not 160 pounds. And Kaiser's staring daggers at me like I called it. Said she Anyway, not my funnest moment.
And then you had to sleep on the couch your first 2 weeks of marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Congratulations.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because for those, I mean, most people don't know Kaisa. Yeah, she is definitely like 5'3", 5'4",
Yeah,
maybe, and
maybe.
is tiny and beautiful. And yeah, so
Short
that's
is short though.
welcome to the Leadr Pulse podcast, the podcast with actionable insights for leaders revolutionizing the world of work. I'm your host, Holly Tate, Chief Marketing Officer here at Leadr. And today, Matt and I discuss this topic of, does the care and development of your people really drive business results? It's a topic we're really passionate about here at Leadr. We get to have these conversations with executives all day, every day. But today's was really special because it's with Elizabeth Bryant, who's the Chief People Officer at Southwest Airlines. So take a listen as Matt and I discuss this topic, and then you'll get to hear Matt's interview with Elizabeth Bryant. I am probably Southwest Airlines' #1 fan. Would you agree? I mean, I
You
love
talk about it more than almost anything except HubSpot.
yeah, including my husband Elliot. Sorry,
Yeah.
babe.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you got to meet Elizabeth Bryant, who's the Chief People Officer at Southwest,
Yes.
at a Patrick Lencioni and John Gordon event a few months ago. And so you got to talk to her recently, and I, like, even me just telling you right this, I'm like getting chills. Um, but yeah, that conversation was Awesome, Matt.
It
How
was
do you
awesome.
feel about it?
It was awesome. It's like when a company who you already know has that culture and then they have a dedicated role at the C-suite level that's all about that, you know that they're practicing what they preach. And it's just cool. Like she just genuinely cares and just has a cool story.
Yeah. Well, what stuck out to me was when I was doing research on her, I found the press release of when she got promoted to that. Well, because what's crazy is she's been there for 17 years. Well, probably more now, probably more than 17 years. But I think when she got promoted, it had been around 17 years. And she started as a manager and then
Yep.
grew to be, I think it was like senior manager, director, senior director, VP, and then chief people officer. But what I loved about the press release was it literally said like her responsibility is the care and development of the people of Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
And, we are people development software. And most people that I talk to are like, what? It's like, what does that mean? Because, we have very strong opinions on
That's
what that
right.
means. And to find arguably you can define success in different ways, but arguably the most successful airline, at least as far as profitability goes, they are the most profitable airline, at least in the United States, I think. And to use the words care and development of your people, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
awesome.
it was just really fun to see how it's treated as a true strategic anchor, and it's not just a fad. It's not just something that's like a nice to have. It's 100% core to what they do. I saw the press release when you moved into the chief people officer role at Southwest, and the line that jumped out to me was it said you were focused on the long-term development and care of the people at Southwest. And it
That's right.
reminded me of this quote. I'm not sure if you've heard this from Simon Sinek. He says, people are not like wet towels to be wrung out. They are not objects from which we can squeeze every last drop of performance that might yield more output over time, but it often comes at a cost of our people and to the culture in the long term. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is obviously what you do all day, every day, but talk to
Yeah.
me about why it's so important for the care and development of our people.
Yeah, well, I love that quote, and obviously he is right on. I think there's no other way to look at it. I think your people um, are your strategy, are your success factor for the future. If you don't have a strong people strategy, meaning you do not have an authentic desire to invest in their development, in their growth, then I think that cuts your strategy off
Mm,
at the knees, because your people are the ones that will define the success. You can have the financial strategy, you can have the business strategy, but if you don't factor in how to care for your people, they won't be able, or they may not want to
mm.
deliver on that.
And what do you say to those executives that would say, or the leaders that would say, that feels very much like a nice to have? We've got goals, we've got priorities. That is not the top of our list right now.
Well, I think you can look anywhere and find the evidence around employee engagement and the impact on that on bottom line. And those organizations that focus on their people and truly put their employees at the center of the decision-making process, those are the companies that are successful. And those employees who have a desire to stay there, feel invested, feel heard, feel seen, they work harder for the organization. People don't work for companies, they work for people.
Right.
And a company who has strong leadership and has the ability to help their employees reach their fullest potential are the ones that are most successful.
Would you go as far as to say that it's a competitive advantage for a business that has a culture around that? Or would you say it's you? Yeah. How would you view that?
Well, I think, honestly, I think it's so simple that people just don't understand it. Um, it is as simple as caring for your people leads to a culture of high engagement. A culture of high engagement leads to success.
Mm,
And oftentimes at Southwest, you hear the flight attendant talk about put your own oxygen mask on before caring for others, or taking care of
right.
others, because
Right.
you need to have the oxygen. That's how we look at people development at Southwest. We've got to feed our leaders. And by doing that, they take care of their employees. And
Do
by
you?
taking care of their employees, they then take care of our customers, who then continue to come back.
I love that. when you think about measures of success of this, do you think more qualitatively or quantitatively in terms of measures of success of engagement or people feeling like that care and development within the culture is actually happening?
Oh, I think it's a quantitative measure.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think you can see a direct impact between the support that an employee feels and their success in their job, in their role. And you have KPIs to measure that.
Okay. Do you have any favorite stories of, because your role, I imagine, creates so many moments at Southwest where people feel recognized, they feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. Do you have any favorite stories over the years that give you wind for your sails to make you keep going and keep pushing this effort?
I mean, there are so many stories. It's hard to even decide on one. I can tell you a personal story that I had several years ago. I was, you're about to be a new parent. I was a new parent, and I had two little ones at home. And I was at the point in my career, I was relatively new leader, but I felt like I needed to make a change because I wasn't sleeping and all those things. So I went to my leader and I said, hey, I need you to know that I'm probably not 100% right now. I'm still having a child that's waking up a lot at night, which means I'm up a lot at night, which means I'm probably not my best during the day.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, Elizabeth, having you at 50% is better than not having you at all. Take a deep breath. This is a moment in your career. It's going to be okay. And you're important enough that we're going to wait.
Wow.
And that investment in me was obviously a turning point for me in my career. And it's something that I try to carry on and share with others.
It's so special. What would you say to the leader that this isn't their priority, that they are focused on more of the financial plan, they're more focused on the budget, they're more focused on performance than they are on the people development and care side? What would you say to them?
Well, I think I would first say that Southwest wouldn't be the place for them. Probably. They might not feel at home here.
Yeah.
And secondly, I would say they're missing a critical opportunity to improve the overall health of their business.
So then why is it so hard, especially for CEOs? I'm going to pick on you because you're a CEO.
Bring it.
Or sometimes, and this is a Holly problem, I'm going to own it. I fully own it, but I often call COOs C-no-nos.
Yes.
Because a lot of the ones I talk to refuse to, and I'm using strong language, I have strong opinions, but
just say it, Holly.
It feels like they refuse to admit that investing in your people and making that a strategic advantage is going to increase business results.
Right.
So why is that? Why does it seem like a large majority of CEOs or COOs feel that way?
I have a story about this. I once reported to someone that was like that was very much the see no no. And we did not have a lot of relational equity. The conversations was all about, what are you working on? How can you go faster? What's blocking you? This is not good enough. That was very much the tone of the relationship. After about 2 years of reporting to this person, one day I got asked out to go to lunch on a random Friday. And my first thought, Ollie, was literally, I'm getting fired. That was my first thought. Because why would we go to lunch? So we walked down to Whole Foods of all places. We're sitting there having lunch. And he's asking me how I'm doing. And I was like, where's this going? There's got to be a hook somewhere. And at the end of the lunch, we went back and I didn't get fired.
Oh, congratulations.
And I went to the CEO and I was like, hey, the weirdest thing just happened. The COO just took me out to lunch and asked me how I was doing. And he's like, yeah, I told them to be more relational.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know.
He was checking it off the list. He was checking
it off the list.
Yeah.
Checking it off the list. But when you grow up under that idea of performance management is micromanagement or performance management is squeezing the juice out of the lemon, I don't know if you know any other way.
Yeah. I wonder, yeah, I don't know. That's so thought-provoking. I don't know if you don't know any other way. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so someone like that who has felt like they've been successful by not investing in their people.
Right.
And I guess to define what that would mean, I'm thinking growth, increased revenue, like the KPIs / results.
Sure.
That they feel like they've been a part, or their experience is that you don't have to invest in your people. You just focus on results and it'll happen. You think, is that
And maybe not to get into the generational thing too much, but when I was coming up, the whole overarching narrative around millennials was you're entitled, right?
Yeah.
Is that all that you heard?
Oh
Millennials are
yeah.
entitled.
Yes.
Millennials don't want to work hard.
They
Millennials are
job
just,
hop.
yeah, they only care about the mission things. And it was just a disconnect because I worked my ass off, at least in my eyes, but I worked my ass off once I recognized that the work that I was doing had meaning. If I was
Mm,
doing work that was meaningless in my mind, and I didn't believe in what we were doing, I didn't think that was having an impact on our customers. I did find it really hard to clock in the 60 hours a week or whatever it was that was required. But I think the throwaway excuse from that older generation that was probably only treated that way coming up in their mind was, well, I was led this way, so I'm going to lead you this way, even though I just needed to be led a different way. And so I don't know if that's a cop out, the generational thing, but I found that really frustrating.
yeah. Well, and I think the thing that we have to realize is that we as millennials are the first generation that has more job opportunity. Like when we think about getting paid for something, more opportunity out there. I mean, it's endless, it's
Yeah.
limitless. You can start a business on Instagram.
Yeah.
Whereas previous generations, yes, Gen Xers had a little bit more, but boomers and builders, it was very limited. Because there wasn't the, surge of technology or globalization that we have now where you can there's just so many jobs at your fingertips.
True.
Who would have ever thought that people would be making a living delivering things to doorsteps, like not just the milkman, but like literally anything to your doorstep. It's just wild.
And because maybe it's more fluid, maybe that means now more than ever, it's more important to see the person behind the project that they're working on. Now more than ever, you have to understand what makes them tick because there's more options out there. They could just job hop and go to the next thing. Not that I'm not a fan of that at all, but if you can't get to what drives them and you're not helping develop and help them to get to what they want to do, they're just gonna leave.
Yeah, because they can and they will.
They
And I think
can.
I was giving a talk one time on something related to this topic. I don't remember, or it might have been multi-generational teams. And a leader came up to me at the end of the talk and said, he was like, I hear you and I agree with you because this is my experience. We have high turnover in our youngest generations, and he was a boomer generation. And he said, what's the alternative? And I said, they will leave and you will continue to have the turnover and the loss of momentum in your organization, which leads to lower profitability and all of the things.
Mhm.
Which when you asked Elizabeth about this, her response was, I'd never heard someone articulate it this clearly before when we're talking about how do you measure like the ROI or the results. She said, when we invest in our leaders, they take care of our employees, and then our employees take care of our customers who continue to come back.
Right.
And it's like, yes, like, and it feels so like duh, but but to think of the flywheel like that, like we think about sales and marketing flywheels, it's like attract the person to your website and then they will buy something and then delight
Right.
them and they'll refer other customers. But what we're missing in that is the employee component.
I
And
don't think it
that,
does feel duh. I think it feels a nice to have. I think it feels like, ugh, seriously, I get it, like sure, but I don't think you know how behind our goals we are. I don't think you know how many things we've got going on right now. This seems way too simple. Like this can't be the solution to our problems.
even though the employees are the ones that are actually getting all of that done.
I
Like, how
mean,
else do you drive those forward when you have humans that are the ones that hit those goals or interact with those customers?
clearer goals, more frequent check-ins, daily stand-ups. I mean, that's the old way, isn't it?
But everything you just said is people components.
Right.
Um, so for example, the reason why you need clearer goals is because people need clarity.
Uh-huh.
The reason why you need daily stand-ups is because people need to feel connected and feel and have that clarity.
Yeah.
Know
Yeah.
how their work they're doing today drives the business forward.
1000%. It does feel too good to be true.
Yeah. But maybe it's that care word though. Like care and development are not necessarily the same thing.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So like caring, the word care does feel lovey-dovey,
Yeah.
but developing someone just like you would develop a product. It's so funny because like no one argues with product development or sales development. Like everyone would be like, yeah, we need to develop sales. Like we need to develop a product. We need, but when we talk about people development,
It feels like a charity. It feels like we're just gonna do like kumbaya and trust falls.
no, it means we are moving that person forward so that they can move the business forward.
Yeah.
We're making the person better. So like product development is making the product better, whether it's a new feature, whether it's optimizing an old feature. How is people development not that same thing? We're making that person better, which makes our business better.
And I'm playing devil's advocate, obviously, but
yeah.
this becomes the root of the problem, because what I hear around this discussion is, well, that I never received that. I never got that and I got here without that. Have you heard that before, right?
Oh yeah. I was thrown into the deep end, so they need to be they can figure it out too. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I hear that. That's one of my biggest objections we get about one-on-ones. While I never had one-on-ones with my boss, I had to go out and learn it myself and read my own book. Why am I supposed to expect it to do that for them? I hear that all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
So what's the answer?
I mean, I think it's kind of what we just talked about with the generational thing. It's that you don't have an option anymore. Like
yeah, you don't.
You can continue to just try to like status quo, but if you're satisfied with the way, and we talked to some business leaders who are like, we're growing, we're good. And it's like, okay, well, call us when you're not.
Right.
Because maybe you're in a lucky season where you've just hit the market at the right time, and whatever you're selling or the service that you provide, it's just kind of a lucky moment. Like I love listening to the podcast, How I Built This, because at the very end, they always ask the business leader or the entrepreneur, like what percent, was it luck or was it hard work?
Yeah.
And they always usually say it's a combination, so maybe you're in a lucky season, but that you will not always be there. And I guarantee that you can draw a direct line to your employees' engagement and satisfaction working at your company to those goals decreasing or you not growing at the rate that you want to.
And my hot take, Holly, even if you are growing, there's a great book called Creativity Inc., The Story of Pixar. And the founder of Pixar talks about they were winning nonstop. I think their first 6 or 7 movies they put out were just complete slam dunks. And the 8th movie they put out wasn't a hit at the box office. And then the way he describes it was our culture fell apart. And he couldn't understand it. If we were winning all this time, how come one loss means that our culture falls apart? And the line that he uses in the book is, the good stuff hides the bad stuff. And so you could be winning despite unhealthy culture, despite a lack of engagement, but that's not going to last forever. And if the good stuff's hiding the bad stuff, you never feel an impetus enough to look in to solve it. The Pixar story is he wished he would have solved it ahead of time, because winning wasn't the culture. The culture was dying despite the fact that they were winning.
Yeah. So that's a good actionable insight for all of us, is even if you're in a winning moment, that you have got to look under the hood of how your people are engaged in your mission and the work that you're doing and the relationship with your manager. That was another thing Elizabeth said, that people don't work for companies, they work for people. Yeah. So otherwise you're going to wake up one day and you're going to have to deal with a lot of the cleanup of what's under the hood that you're not paying attention to now. So that's awesome. True. Thanks, Matt. Lots to think about.
So much. I got to go and have lunch with someone without my boss telling me to do it.
Yeah. That's a good challenge for all of us. Thanks for listening to today's episode with Elizabeth Bryant, Chief People Officer of Southwest Airlines. Make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn. She is a phenomenal leader with practical insights that she shares often over there on LinkedIn. We also want to remind you that we send out a weekly email with practical insights for you revolutionizing the world of work. So go to leadr.com and sign up for Leadr Pulse, our weekly email. And we'd love to hear from you on social media. Follow us, comment, Share your thoughts and what you're learning as you listen along at Leadr Inc. You can find us across all social media platforms and also watch this on YouTube, where we've got some behind the scenes, special practical insights, edits as you watch the videos. We'll see you next time.